Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt that deep pull of curiosity, wondering what stories those distant lights might tell? For centuries, people have stared into that vastness, often content with what they thought they knew.
Mm.
But today, we're diving into the extraordinary life of a man who wasn't content. A man who dared to look closer, to question everything, and in doing so brought a flood of light to our understanding of the cosmos.
We're talking about Galileo Galilei.
Exactly. He saw the universe not as a closed book of immutable truths, but as an open one, waiting to be read.
Yeah.
Our mission in this deep dive is to explore Galileo's groundbreaking journey, the profound courage it took to challenge deeply entrenched traditions, and how his fight for intellectual freedom continues to shape our world. Okay, let's unpack this.
What's truly fascinating here isn't just Galileo's brilliance, though that's undeniable, but the sheer intellectual audacity of his inquiry.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an era where independent thought, especially about the heavens, was profoundly risky.
Oh, absolutely.
His story goes way beyond just astronomical observations.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a testament to that fundamental human drive to pursue truth, even when that truth clashes head-on with established dogma.
Right.
It highlights the immense bravery required to not just think differently, but to rigorously prove those thoughts in a world that often punished that kind of defiance.
And what a world it was. Let's try and set the scene for you. It's 1564, and we're in Florence, Italy. It's the late Renaissance, right? So a time of incredible artistic, cultural rebirth.
Yeah, vibrant.
But intellectually, things were still largely tethered to ancient ideas. The prevailing worldview placed Earth completely unmoving at the absolute center of the universe.
The only way it could be, supposedly.
Exactly. And this wasn't just some scientific theory people kicked around. It was cosmic order, deeply woven into theology, philosophy, everything that had held sway for, over 1,000 years?
A very long time. Questioning it wasn't just disagreeing scientifically.
No. It was seen as an affront to divine order. I mean, can you even fathom a time when just wondering about the stars, really wondering, could brand you a heretic, an outcast?
It's hard to imagine now.
That was the intellectual landscape young Galileo was born into. Yet from an early age, reports say he was just insatiably curious, restless, refusing to let his mind be, fenced in.
He saw things differently.
He really did. He viewed the universe as this magnificent book, but written not in words, but in the precise language of mathematics, just waiting for someone to decipher its elegant equations.
Indeed. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see why this geocentric, this Earth-centered view was so incredibly entrenched. It wasn't just religious dogma holding it up.
No, that's a key point.
The Aristotelian Ptolemaic model, the one Galileo challenged, was actually a highly refined, mathematically sophisticated system. For centuries, it had made remarkably accurate predictions about planetary movements, all from an Earth-centered perspective.
It worked on its own terms.
It seemed to work. It offered a coherent, seemingly complete understanding of the cosmos, and, crucially, it aligned perfectly with the dominant religious views of humanity's central place in creation.
So it felt right, intuitively and theologically.
Exactly. So Galileo wasn't just arguing with a few hesitant academics. He was challenging an entire societal and intellectual framework built on what everyone considered immutable truths, backed by very powerful institutions. The bravery it took to even think about an alternative, let alone try to demonstrate it, well, it was monumental.
Which makes what he did next just all the more astonishing. Because despite this deeply rooted certainty all around him, Galileo dared to look up at the heavens with new eyes, seeing mysteries just longing to be unveiled.
Mm-hmm.
What happened next is, well, it's truly remarkable. Picture Galileo, maybe hunched over his handmade telescope, and it was handmade, improving on early designs on a cold Venetian night in 1609.
Yeah.
The city sounds fading as he locks his gaze on Jupiter. Through that modest lens, he didn't just see another star. He glimpsed 4 bright points of light circling the planet.
Wow, just like that.
A celestial dance, unseen by human eyes until that very moment. It was as if the universe itself had whispered this profound secret directly to him.
Incredible.
And he didn't just see it once. For days, he meticulously chronicled their movements, observing them shift position around Jupiter night after night, clearly not orbiting Earth.
Proof. Visible proof.
His findings utterly shattered the accepted worldview. I mean, Would you have had the conviction, the guts to trust your own eyes when it fundamentally contradicted centuries of established belief?
That's the real test, isn't it? And this raises an important question. How do you even begin to present evidence that overturns centuries of deeply held belief? The implications were, as you say, just monumental.
It's huge.
They directly contradicted the Aristotelian Ptolemaic model.
Mhm.
That model stated everything revolved around the Earth, period. Galileo's discovery of Jupiter's moons demonstrated unequivocally that there were other centers of rotation out there.
A mini solar system, almost.
In a way, yes. And he didn't stop there. When he later observed Venus, he saw it displayed phases, just like our moon,
Oh, right. I remember reading about that.
which provided undeniable visual proof that Venus must be orbiting the sun, not the Earth, to show those kinds of phases from our perspective. It was another nail in the coffin for the geocentric argument.
So piece by piece, the old model starts crumbling.
Exactly. These weren't just minor adjustments or new data points. They revealed fundamental, irreparable flaws in that whole sophisticated framework. This presented a direct and really undeniable challenge to the prevailing scientific and religious consensus of his time. It shook the very foundations of knowledge and belief across European society.
And you can just imagine the storm that brewed around him. The mighty church, the undisputed voice of authority for centuries, basically thundered against this upstart. But it wasn't only the church, was it? Many scholars, people whose entire careers and reputations were built on Aristotle's teachings, they mocked him.
They had a lot invested in the old ways.
Absolutely. They scoffed, they denied, and some famously even refused to look through his telescope. Can you believe that? Preferring to trust ancient texts over what they could see with their own eyes.
It speaks volumes about resistance to change.
It really does. Friends grew distant, allies turned cold. Galileo found himself accused not just of being scientifically wrong, but of, endangering the very soul of mankind by suggesting a different cosmic order.
That's heavy.
How do you stand tall amidst that kind of storm, that scorn, that isolation? Yet somehow, Galileo's intellectual resilience became his compass. Instead of backing down, he published Sidereus Nuncius, the Starry Messenger, broadcasting the wonders he'd seen to basically anyone who would read it. This wasn't just a dry scientific paper, it was a revolutionary act, a torch in the darkness, sort of democratizing astronomical discovery.
Bringing it to the people, in a way.
Yeah. He specifically invited others. Look through my telescope, see what I see, verify it. While, many refused, clinging to their preconceived notions, others did look. And for the first time, ordinary citizens glimpsed distant worlds, and you can imagine in that garden of certainty, the seeds of doubt began to sprout.
What's particularly fascinating there is that profound human resistance to new information, especially when it challenges our intellectual comfort zones. That refusal of many scholars to even look through the telescope. It tells you so much about how deeply ingrained our prior beliefs can be.
Yeah, it's easier to dismiss than reconsider everything.
Definitely. And the psychological toll of that opposition, it must have been immense. That silent weight of isolation, the ache that comes when your deepest truths, things you've seen, are met with disbelief, even anger.
Must have been incredibly lonely.
And his decision to publish Sidereus Nuncius and appeal directly to a wider audience, essentially bypassing the usual academic and church gatekeepers, that was revolutionary in itself. He basically said, don't just believe me, see for yourselves. A powerful move, but one that certainly cranked up the controversy.
Oh, absolutely. Because it shifted the debate out of just scholarly circles and into the public square, which was even more threatening to established authority. And this inevitably brings us to what would become Galileo's greatest trial, the real furnace he had to face. By 1632, his book, Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems, had been published.
Yes, the dialogue.
And this one was particularly provocative. It was structured as a conversation, right, between a Copernican advocate and Aristotelian defender, who he maybe unwisely named Simplicio, meaning simpleton.
Which probably didn't help his case.
Probably not, and a neutral arbiter. But it was, let's be honest, a thinly veiled but devastating intellectual argument for the heliocentric, the sun-centered model, presented with undeniable clarity and,
too witty, perhaps, for some.
Perhaps. This was seen as a direct, undeniable challenge to dogma. Too bold for the church to ignore this time. They summoned him to Rome, an inquiry by the Inquisition.
The big one.
Picture Galileo, older now, aged, maybe stooped, standing before those shadowed faces of authority, and they're demanding he deny what he knew in his very soul to be true.
Unthinkable pressure.
They demanded he renounce his discoveries, turn his back on the evidence he'd gathered, silence his heart's calling. The stakes were just immense. I mean, what would you give up to conform? Your voice, your vision, or would you risk everything?
Is the ultimate question.
Galileo, facing this immense pressure, the very real threat of severe punishment, maybe even torture, he bowed to their pressure. In words, at least. He recanted.
Formally, yes.
Yet the legend persists, right? Whispers that even in that moment of forced defeat, he murmured, "Eppur si muove," and yet it moves, referring to Earth's motion around the sun, even in defeat, trying to keep that flame of truth alive, at least in spirit.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it just perfectly illustrates that timeless struggle. The clash between independent scientific observation and powerful institutional authority. The Inquisition represented the peak power dynamics of the era. Established authority held overwhelming sway.
No question.
So Galileo's recantation was, in reality, a forced compromise. It was a survival mechanism against persecution. Yet, ironically, this very act of submission, especially with that enduring legend of Eppur si muove, actually solidified his image as a martyr for truth in the eyes of history.
Funny how that works sometimes.
It highlighted the immense pressure he faced, the severe consequences for daring to challenge the prevailing worldview. And while his recantation was undoubtedly a profound personal setback, it also became this powerful symbol that truth, once observed and understood, can't ever be truly suppressed, no matter how much institutional force you apply against it.
And despite that profound personal setback and being confined to house arrest for the rest of his life, Galileo's mind just soared beyond the walls that held him. His work was far from over.
Not at all.
During this period, under house arrest, he wrote discourses and mathematical demonstrations relating to two new sciences. This was a monumental work that really laid the foundational principles for modern physics, exploring things like the strength of materials, the laws of motion.
Foundational stuff. Stuff Newton would build on.
Exactly. His ideas didn't stay locked up with him. They rippled outward, lighting up minds across Europe, inspiring thinkers for generations. You mentioned Newton, Einstein later.
The giants.
It's a poignant thought, though, isn't it? That Galileo himself didn't live to see the full fruits of his battle. He didn't get to taste that vindication that came centuries later when the world finally, officially recognized the sun's central place and honored his boldness.
No, he didn't get that satisfaction in his lifetime.
But his journey wasn't just about astronomy, was it? At the end of the day, it was this relentless war for freedom of thought, for the right to question, to dream, to see with one's own eyes, regardless of dogma. So what does this all mean for us today?
Well, I think it means that Galileo's ultimate choice, despite everything, was for hope. It was for curiosity, for the light of discovery, even when facing overwhelming isolation and adversity. Just imagine the intellectual courage it takes to not just believe in yourself, but to keep rigorously pursuing knowledge when the whole world, or at least the powerful parts of it, refuses to see what you see.
Incredible strength.
You could see Galileo's life maybe like a lighthouse carved out of stone, braced against these huge tidal waves of opposition, shining his discoveries out into the fog, warning of hidden rocks, pointing towards a new path. His telescope wasn't just glass and wood. It was a bridge, wasn't it? Spanning the gap between the known and the unknown and inviting everyone to cross it.
That's a great metaphor.
And today, honestly, every satellite orbiting the Earth, every rocket piercing the sky, every single child who gazes through a telescope, they all carry a fragment of Galileo's legacy. His defiance literally bent the arc of history towards empirical inquiry, towards observation. Which, I suppose, raises an important question for us, doesn't it? How often do we allow external doubts, or maybe even just our own internal resistance to changing our minds, to cloud our vision? Choosing the comfort of old beliefs over the courage it takes to embrace new truths.
That's a question to sit with. Galileo's journey, his struggles, even his moments of compromise, they're profound lessons really etched into the marrow of human progress. He taught us not just about planets in motion, but about the irrepressible power of persistent questioning.
Absolutely.
The intellectual world you inhabit today, the freedom you have to ask, the liberty to think, to challenge what's accepted, that's a universe he helped construct, brick by brick, just through his example. His story whispers a challenge, I think, to all of us who hear it. Question bravely, seek honestly, stand tall even when the world casts a long shadow. You know, is there not a little Galileo buried in each of us, longing to peel back the canvas of reality and look beyond what's immediately apparent?
A powerful thought.
So don't wait for permission to shine your light of inquiry. Build your own telescope. Fashion it from your curiosity, Power it with your resilience and aim it squarely at your boldest dreams. Because beyond every perceived wall, a universe of discovery awaits.